Welcome back from the coffee break. I hope you had some good coffee at your home office or whatever you need to get you hydrated. Always be good hydrated when you're at home. Always good advice. And right now we have our next speaker here in our conference. It's Michał Kułakowski. He is he's solutions architect at GitLab. Welcome to our conference. Hi.
Good morning and guten Morgen, everyone.
Good morning. Yes, good morning. Where are you right now? We are in a pandemic right now, so everybody is somewhere else on the world. Where are you sitting right now?
I'm based in Warsaw. I'm sitting in my home office right now, as every GitLaber is at this time, because we do not have physical offices. I'm in the middle of Warsaw, nearly
in the middle of Warsaw, in the old town of Warsaw, the beautiful.
Well, yeah, it's not. I'm saying nearly because it's not a central district, but still close to.
And you said GitLab. Everybody at GitLab is right now at the home office. They have always been at the home office, even before the pandemic.
Yes, that is correct. And GitLab is the nobody really certifies that, but we are said to be the largest all remote by design company in the world. And by all remote, we mean we purposely have no offices and to make people collaborate remotely from where they live.
Awesome. And how many people are at GitLab right now?
It's 1,300 roughly right now.
1,300. Okay, that's quite a number. And tell us a little bit about yourself. What role do you have at GitLab and how big is your team?
Absolutely. So I'm a solutions architect right now working with channel partners of GitLab. Particularly, my role is to handle a group which we called Global System Integrators. That is big consulting firms like Capgemini, Accenture, Deloitte, you name it. And I'm working with them to make sure that they have all technical resources needed to partner with us. But the role of solutions architect generally is a technical sales, you can say, on GitLab side of things. So making sure that whoever wants to buy from us is successful doing so. But before, I've been spending quite a chunk of my life in various places, and I've spent 10 years of my career doing network and application security, actually, for a company named Fortinet. And that part of life made me familiar with how security process looks like in the enterprise. Later on, I've been having my own company, my own startup with a CTO and responsible for setting up the development team and process and culture and making sure that the application that we've built is being delivered smoothly. So you can say I know the barricade from two sides, and not just selling stuff, but also being sold to.
Yeah, this is why we are going to talk also about not only how product development is done in one team, but also how to communicate with other teams and stuff like that. The title today is how to ensure that security teams can work collaboratively with cloud-native product teams. But before we go into that, you might explain first how you are involved right now into the product development process at GitLab.
Absolutely. So while I'm not contributing directly, I'm not developing code in my current role, doing effective product management and product development requires customer interaction, requires customer feedback. And a solutions architect role in GitLab is that interface to the customer. So we talk to our customers to understand their requirements, understand their perspective. GitLab is also special in the way that we are open core, and we do have more than 2,500 active contributors in our community. Some members of our community are community members, but not customers, meaning they're only using the open source part of GitLab. And very often, where these are large enterprises, they contribute to the code base, developing things that they think they're useful and sharing with the rest of the community. So right now, my role on one hand is gathering this feedback from our customers that we're working with. On the other hand, because GitLab is used for product development as well, I'm actively participating in setting up the process and culture and interfacing between different teams, working with our customers, because tool is just part of the process, and culture and people and process are another, and they're quite tightly interlocked in the DevOps world. So you cannot start one without the other. Really, they're going in lockstep.
Security is usually something that's done by somebody specialized in, and people tend to give it the specialist, like when it's about security, you ask somebody who knows what's going on. But the question is, how do you bake in the security aspect from a technical perspective in the first place? So how do you get the message to the technicians?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right that the security team is typically a little bit of an ivory tower traditionally within the enterprise. These are people who are highly specialized. They're talking language which is not easily understood by everybody, and they have a very hard task because they're coming in small numbers. So to be effective, they need to teach others how to use security. Actually, they need to be contagious. They need to spread that culture. And because security is about risk and about not doing certain things, they're traditionally perceived as people who are not helping you, but instead, interfering with what you are trying to do. And changing that perception is super important, regardless if we're talking about application development or using systems day to day. Or social skills which are required to be on a safe side.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you do that? Maybe make an example of how you actually bring the message to your customer, for example, or to the teams of your customer.
Yeah. One thing which is changing, and that is specific for application development, right? When you're thinking we're building product, how do we make the product secure? And to put it in context, when you think about a company like GitLab, like the company where I work for, we're using probably like 80 different applications. So 79 out of them are software as a service, which we source from the outside. And we are sourcing software as a service. Of course, there is still some security process around that. How do you onboard your users? How do you manage them? How do you make sure you offboard users who are no longer with the company? But that is very skeletal. That is just a part of it. And we have one product which we run for ourselves and for our customers, and this is GitLab. And that is like, a whole different story. How do you make sure that this product is secure? So application development is just part of the security as a process, right? You have training for employees. You have general security awareness. You have multiple elements related to information security, like disposing information which is printed on paper, and. Now, when we zoom in and we start talking about application security, which is what I'm specialized in, and also what we're selling to our customers, the landscape is changing a lot with cloud native. And this is why we're talking about the collision of those two topics. Why? Because traditionally, security has been done as an afterthought, as a bolt-on, as something that you added only after the application was developed. And that was done because the change cycle in the application was slow, and security required very rapid reaction. So if you have new vulnerability, you can't wait half a year for development team to fix it. You need to do it right away or risk being hacked, right? And so very often security has been thought as afterthought, as something that you're patching. The word patch is also security related and heavy contextual on top of what's being done. Now, two things are happening right now with the applications. One is we really get much quicker change cycle. Applications are being developed and changes being done on them daily or even hourly. On the other hand, for those applications to be easy to handle, they are being decomposed. And that's cryptic word, but decomposing means instead of having single large application, monolithic one, you are breaking it into smaller parts which are having simple functions, because it's easier to delegate those parts to individual team and work even faster. And this has impact on security, you know?
We're talking about microservices, for example.
Yes, that's microservices. And the impact is twofold. Number one, because change is faster, you can actually ingrain those security changes into the cycle and hope for them to be immediate. On the other hand, you are talking about much more complex architecture where bolting something on is getting complex because you don't know where to bolt things on in order to make them efficient. And that is changing radically the way security is being done right now in the product-oriented organizations. And in almost every organization who is developing something is now becoming a product-oriented organization, as we know.
And what does it mean? What do you have to change as a product-oriented organization when you want to do security in a cloud-based product development?
So one thing which is changing is that you cannot think about the security at the end of the process anymore, because number one, it's too complex. Number two, this process never ends. I mean, when you have a product, you continuously develop it, and you continuously need to make sure that what you have is secure. So the change is about baking that security knowledge, that security understanding culture into the team who's working on a product and making sure that it is a shared responsibility. Now, easier said than done. We said that, you know, security is a cryptic knowledge and it's a bit of an ivory tower. So how do you make sure that people can use and actually participate in security? And one of the ways you can do that, the only effective way I know, is by automation, by automating certain security checks and ingraining them in the process, making it easy for everybody to use them and to understand the results. And if you don't understand the result, you can still call somebody from security to help you, right? But the more those results are understandable for everybody, the more people can actually participate in the process of making a product secure. And the more frequently that automation is run, every single time you change something, for example, the more feedback you get and the earlier you detect a security failure. And this concept is called shift left, because from the very right in the graph where the product is near to release, we're now shifting left and making sure that the security is handled early and transparently, and that everybody can see the result and the current state of the product.
Yeah, sounds a little bit like continuous security, like continuous integration, continuous security. It's just not something you do once, but you have to do it all the time and continuous.
It is very much the same motion that has been with DevOps originally, when we were talking about baking quality early into the cycle, writing tests before you write code. Security is just another aspect of a product quality, as is compliance, as is many others. And you can use the same tools to make it understandable and make it automated and make it executed every time and make it managed as code. So every time you change your definition, you have this change registered, and it's easy to understand for everybody participating in it.
From your experience, we are almost at the end of the interview. Please give us 3 tips of how to integrate security more into teams. What do you think are the most efficient ways to plan security as something really native and natural into product development?
Absolutely. So for digital product, which is being built from code, the cornerstone is making sure that security checks are part of your continuous integration pipeline. So the automation, which is used to test and build the code, it should also test for security. And the next level, which is actually the state-of-the-art way of doing things, is making sure that these security checks are done before you merge your code into the main branch. So the way developers work today, they work in a code repository where there is a main branch describing the code which is going to production. And there is multiple feature branches where people experiment with something and then give results of their work back to this mainstream. And having security checks on that feature branch means that if something is wrong with the security, you are not contributing that security vulnerability into the main track, but instead you know upfront and you can decide what to do. should I still work on it? Should I postpone it? Should I maybe involve somebody else and collaborate on this? But we are not under time pressure, because before that thing is merged, it's not going to production, and it's not contaminating the source code of the actual applications, which can be released at any time in a secure state.
And does it have to do something with the tools you use? Do you need other tools when you do more security in your teams, or is it just the approach and the focus and doing that?
I would say the most complex thing in our experience when we are working with our customers is that very often those point products which are covering only certain aspects of security are used only for selected applications which are high risk. And the biggest challenge is building a broad coverage, is making sure that you scan everything for every risk every single time, because this is the only way that you can protect the weakest link in the chain. Security is all about weakest link in the chain. You want to be sure that you have every aspect covered. GitLab can do that, but it's not limited to GitLab. You could build that setup yourself from arbitrary tools. It is just quite complex to do. So what we are doing is we're taking that complexity away from the shoulders of the security manager within the organization, because we believe that this setup is very similar across the enterprises, and it makes sense to do it at scale as a vendor.
Awesome. I think we're done with the interview for now and can smoothly go to the questions via the chat, which I have seen already poured in pretty much. So I will ask Stefan right now, how is the chat looking, and do we have any questions?
Yes, we have questions in the chat. So the first is, how to best measure a security metric for a product team? Utility versus price point versus logistics licensing, for example.
Okay. There is multiple metrics. If I understand the question right, there's multiple KPIs you want to track in order to understand where you are with the risk level of your projects. And one way to look at it is, for example, number of open vulnerabilities that you're having. Vulnerability is something that is not mitigated currently, so actually is an active risk, and something that you have not worked on yet. And one way to do that in terms of the CI/CD pipeline is to register every time a new vulnerability pops up and add it to the single pane of glass where you can track it. So I would say that's probably the most important metric.
You can't hear me now. You can hear me. Thank you very much. And we're going now to Stefan back for another question.
Yeah, we have here one more question. When it comes to enterprise-grade security, which security certifications does GitLab have?
It's a good question. We are actually right now offering our customers two models in which GitLab can be deployed, either as a software as a service, as a complete package, or as a product which is installable on premise. We do have certifications around the whole process on that software as a service part, where we are certifying our personnel and process and tightness of the application, and that is like an industrial grade certificate, which I don't remember the name of it right now, honestly speaking, but that is being certified. Whereas for the product, which is shipped to the customer, it's a joint responsibility. And for that type of application, we do have independent pen testing companies which are looking at our code, which are looking at our installation, testing that, and giving us a report. Those reports are available to anyone who is interested, as most of the things within GitLab, they're public. So you can understand the state of the product itself as well from the independent research company.
Very good. Thank you very much. And I'm pretty sure we have another question, so I give it to Stefan.
Yes, so one of the question here is already answered by you, so I will switch to the next one. Regarding security, which USP does GitLab have in comparison to other tools, for example, GitHub or Bitbucket?
Absolutely. So what are we packaging with the ultimate version of GitLab, which is the commercial tier, which you can have both in SaaS and on-premise models, is scanners which are built in and licensed with GitLab, so you're not worried about per run licensing like with other scanners. And these are covering both the source code, which you're looking at, like vulnerabilities in your source code or secrets which are baked into the repository, as well as dependencies. I'm talking about both the libraries that you're using, open source libraries, or the Docker images that you're using to build your software. We're also doing dynamic application security testing next to static application security testing, which is actually scanning the installed instance of the application to understand if there's any vulnerabilities in there. And we do that on every feature branch. We create a dynamic environment for every feature branch, and we test it there. And we can also do fuzz testing, both code coverage and API. So that is giving you a complex scope of testing, which is happening on every feature branch. And now when you compare that to other tools, you can integrate this set of tools. It typically that is not happening on every feature branch, because creating dynamic environments is costly, is difficult to do. And it's much more difficult to run because you have to maintain it. So GitLab is providing you that out of the box. So to recap it, every feature branch, complete set of scanning, and out of the box is the advantage that we can provide.
Great. So we have a good overview over all the tools available around in the market. And we still have time for another question. Stefan, please.
Yeah, here's one more question, and this is around your collaboration in general. What is special when security teams collaborate? Or isn't it the same like any other product team? Sorry.
So I think this question can be answered in many ways. But one thing which is special about security, especially when you are breaking the silo and you are making people start collaborate with each other, is that traditional perception of the security team, which is not very good. Like, it's typically, they are perceived as people who operate the handbrake. When something goes wrong, they pull a handbrake, and that is their right to do so, but that is counterproductive from many other people's point of view. The art of making people collaborate effectively is to make sure that we're all understanding the same goals and we're all playing on the same field for the same goal, right? It's everybody business, so that the product which is shipped is actually secure. And changing that cultural perception is the hard part of the puzzle. It cannot be done without right tooling, but obviously tooling is not enough. Culture and awareness and participation is critical to the success.
And which tools do you use, actually?
For which part?
For the security part. Is there something different to the normal product development?
I would say there is many things which are now being done as code, right? And if you think about your scans, your security policies, even managed as code, it's giving much more transparency to what we are doing. There's another aspect of security which is related to operating actual environments, right? You have certain policies on production which allow a production environment of your product, which allow certain things to happen. Some others are not allowed. How do you make sure that you are testing against the very same policies on each and every environment across the whole landscape? Traditionally, it has been difficult when the change process has been manual. Now, when you can afford to manage those policies as code, which is another thing GitLab can help you do. It's becoming very easy to understand, is there any discrepancy between the state of the policies in the production and test dev environment? Does it have any impact on the quality of our tests? Do we want it, or is this accidental? And you make sure that you roll all the changes which are actually applied in production into the younger environments for consistency. Doing this as code is actually a warranty that it's a transparent process and it's a fair process, and everybody can see the changes happening and why are they happening there, which is improving collaboration.
And I think we have time for one last question. Looking to Stefan, do we have another question?
So I think the questions from the audience, they are all answered now, but I would have one personal question. You said at the beginning that GitLab is famous that by default, the complete team is remote. Have you recognized now the pandemic in your work style in any instance, or was it just the same like always with your workflows and so on?
Unfortunately, yes. I have to say we used to have this event when we had a chance once in a year to meet all of us in one place and just celebrate what we are and where we are and the team spirit. From 2020, this year, that's the first year this has not happened because of pandemic, and we are very much looking forward for this event to happen again. But it's not yet. Obviously, we're not yet in position to determine when is it going to happen. So we missed that. But a part of that in the daily routine, actually, not much has changed. The other thing is that we used to face-to-face meet our customers, right? This is not happening anymore, but that is the change which is not specific to us. Everybody is working in this way right now. I think you're on mute.
Yes. Looks like that you have used the time to play your didgeridoo. Maybe you can do it in the next time. Give us some song with your didgeridoo.
I will.
Awesome. With that, thank you very much, Michał. Thank you very much for all the questions. And next up is Curtis Danier with the topics 6 diagrams to explain product management. Thank you very much.
For being here. Thank you.
Bye.